Hello, all of you in the chat, nice and early. And to answer the question at the top of the chat, Channy Sports, hello, when's the stream starting? The answer to that question, Channy, is now.
Wait.
And as always, I'm here with my sparring partner, my partner in crime, man like Quinny. How you doing, mate?
Very good, Stishy. I've just started a GoFundMe page. The La Liga celebration cards are out, and the Griezmann has to be the card to get, man. What a card that looks like. Nice wee drop from them. And yeah, we're back. We missed a wee week last week. It was just passing ships in the night. We just couldn't get it kind of lined up, unfortunately. But we're back for Double Crutches, episode 77, for all the injured players, all the injured cards we're carrying. So yeah, good one, Channy. Fist bump to you and everyone else joining us live, of course. I see JC and a bunch of other people hanging in with us. So good to see you all. And yeah, it's been a minefield, Stish, I think, over the last week or two, with injuries, DNPs, rotations, fixture piling up, and everything else in between. I don't even really know where to kick off the top of the show. We were just actually scratching through, but our Spotify Wrapped for the year. So honestly, huge shout out to everyone that follows the podcast on Spotify on the audio version. A lot of loyal fans on there, so thanks very much. A lot of lovely reviews and ratings. If you haven't done that, please do jump over to Spotify, Google, or any of the places where you get podcasts. It's everywhere, but just, like it, follow, share, all that good stuff. Rate and review, whatever you need to do. Support the podcast wherever you watch it. But we were just going through that as well, Stish. And yeah, it's been a big year on the podcast, hasn't it? There's been a lot of end product throughout the year.
Yeah, it has been a good year. It's flown by, hasn't it? It's amazing to think that we are at episode 77 of the podcast. It's flown by. There's been so much that's gone on, week to week. We've had loads to talk about, haven't we, this year? I think that the updates have been coming thick and fast. No less, we've had another one today, which we'll probably get into as well. I saw that we've got new pitch notes that just landed as a nice little notification on my Sorare tab open on the Lappy. So we'll get into that in a bit. There's plenty of things to talk about, as always, isn't there? Like you said, even of late, in those sort of international breaks, we've been inundated with little updates and tweaks, and yeah, it's been an eventful year as we're coming to the end of it. It hasn't been particularly eventful for me in the last couple of weeks in terms of the end product, though, Quinny. I must say, I did manage to scrape myself a little tier 5 last week, and I bet my tier 5 was Alex Crowell, who a few years ago, if you were early to the platform, might have remembered him in his Spartak days. He was a card definitely for the under 23 managers at the time, was quite putting up some quite decent scores out there. But looking at what he's up to at the moment, the output's not quite what you'd hope. He's in Germany playing his trade now, and he's not getting the minutes. But yeah, just to see him pop up in my tier 5 reward was surprising. And he's down. His rare cards valued at about 5-6 quid, which is crazy when you think about it. But always happy to win something. Haven't been particularly effective in the cap 240 divisions the last couple of weeks. So starting to feel the burn of like not bringing any of that Ethereum home, especially watching the number go up in the world of crypto. So this week's looking okay. Midweek, the only potential thorn in my plans was captaining Joachim Anderson last night, who played a pretty poor game. I watched a lot of the Palace game against Bournemouth. They were atrocious. He didn't have a great deal to do. I was surprised at some of the actions that I did notice him not being scored, though. Definitely a couple of duels there that I was like, that's a duel. Like winning a header in the air is a duel, right? He's up there. He's won a header. So yeah, I was kind of watching it because the 2 super rares in that All-Star Rare Plus lineup came up trumps for me. O'Reilly in amongst the decisives again, and a recent reward for mine, Nicholas Kuhn, who plays in Austria Vienna. He managed to bag an assist as well. So they done the bit. Captain's up next. I was really hoping for one of his standard kind of 60 plus, nice bit of AA, and I did actually fancy Palace to get a result. Wasn't the case. They were pretty shocking. I know there's a few people in the community heading to Selhurst Park the weekend for the Liverpool fixture. Could see Palace getting severely turned over if they turn up the way that they did last night against Bournemouth. So, yeah, difficult. Goalkeeper overnight, Raphael, did put a clean sheet in, though. So it does put me in a half-decent position to finishing amongst the rewards with Mats Vifa to play tonight against Volendam. So fingers crossed, bit of end product for the weekend. And then, yeah, looking at the weekend, you've already mentioned the double crutches for episode 77. I'm definitely feeling the effect of a lot of injuries at the moment. And, you know, wasn't great news to find out Ter Stegen has been added to the long-term injury list at Barcelona. That's definitely going to hamper my chances at the top end of my pickings. He's definitely right up there. Probably is the best goalkeeper card that I own. So going to be missing him. It's still a bit unclear. I mean, unless I've missed the news, I don't know if there's been a decisive update on exactly how long they expect him to be out. But we know it's lower back surgery now, which doesn't sound short term to me. That could be a fair few months at least, I'd imagine, especially for a goalkeeper who's flying around, diving on the floor. So that was a hammer blow. Obviously, I'm going to miss Donnarumma for the next few game weeks because of the red card that he got. So, the next few game weeks, I think I'm going to have to be really careful about where I place my sides and try and pick my battles wisely, just to try and get the most out of the cards that I've got available at the minute with all these injuries piling up and suspensions in my case with Donnarumma as well. So, it's actually a bit of a headache selecting my teams at the moment. I don't know about you, Quinny, but I've been taking more and more time to do it of late, just trying to get the placement of my best teams correct, like what division I play them in. And, you know, like often at the moment with O'Reilly being such a strong card, that means my U23 is maybe taking a hit to put him into All-Star Rare Plus with all the heavy hitters. But because of all these injuries, I'm actually even thinking this weekend I might be going heavy into just like All-Star Rare and just trying to put the best team possible in there and then just seeing where everything else lies after it. So, yeah, I don't know about you, but the injuries are flying in for me. How's your gallery looking at the moment?
A little bit, it's kind of sprinkled around some injuries over the last month or two. I got Tierney back at the weekend, which was cool, and I've got Depay coming back, which is fantastic. And I've got more kind of my guys have been injured for a while, is kind of what I'm getting at here. But I think, see, like the last couple of game weeks, it has felt a wee bit like Kobayashi Maru, if you know what that is. So it's like the unwinnable scenario where even if you do have the guys, like so like 2 weeks ago, I was talking about how I had like no decisives anywhere in my gallery. So it was just unfeasible. I could have put any team together that could have actually won, even if I was to rewrite history and redo my teams and everything. Last weekend, it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't too far away from being in the same realm, if you get me. So it's been a funny old couple of game weeks in that sense as well. And I think sometimes there's just that, like last night or this midweek. So coming into the midweek, I had the conundrum of I only had like 3 goalkeepers playing. Celtic are playing midweek, all the rest of it. And I said when I was building my lineups, I was like, I know I should just be playing Cunha over Kyogo because Cunha's playing Burnley and he's on form and Kyogo's not on form, even though he plays for Celtic and he's at home and it's a midweek. I should just do that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. And it's probably one of the few times where, normally I've dropped Kyogo actually 2 or 3 times over the last... No, I've actually dropped him twice over the last 3 weeks before this and changed up my forward position just because I was playing him in some caps and different things. But I didn't do it on that occasion and it kind of went against me. But I'm even looking at it now and I'm thinking, even if I did get the extra points, looking at just the way the Celtic game actually finished, no clean sheet, etc. Still some big games to go tonight. Like it might not have actually made that much of a difference anyway. And it's definitely a tricky portion of the season for me. I'm not too sure if that's down to my gallery individually or just galleries is with the kind of size and depth as mine as well. Maybe feel that from time to time, but yeah, it feels a wee bit of Kobayashi Maru kind of unwinnable situation for me now.
I feel like probably also because like a lot of your like key components of your gallery, being a Celtic fan as well, I think you've got like that kind of compounded interest of having some really powerful Celtic cards in your gallery and Celtic just having this blip at the moment where they're not rolling teams over like they expected to. They're struggling through a little bit. There's a little bit of rotation going on as well. You'll know this better than me. I'm only following from like the cards that I hold and, like keeping a keen eye on the fixtures and that. But I definitely feel like, anyone that listens to the podcast who's probably like a bit reliant on a big Celtic win to like really bring up the whole gallery almost. You know, like if you're spreading maybe some of your big cards across like 2 or 3 of your like key lineups, and you know those will really rely on the Celtic result coming through. You know, anyone. I think that's the thing with maybe that we can discuss a little bit about stacks in general, isn't it? Is like when they hit, it's amazing. You hit big, you'll hit a weekend big. You might hit well across 3 or 4 teams, but if you don't, it's the opposite, isn't it? It's like 4 teams down the pan, or like or likewise.
Or
so
worse.
yeah, it must be difficult for you, obviously, as a fan of Celtic. Just frustrating time to be a Celtic fan, but also as a holder of their cards on the platform, I'm sure.
Yeah, I say it is the card aspect of it as well, because it's not just them. It's like it's my whole gallery. If you know what I mean, it feels like normally I look at my cards or I look at my results and I think, oh, I should have put that guy in that division, and that would have seen me over the top, or that would have made this difference. But last couple of weeks, like scores have been good, but equally like from the field, but my scores have not been like that great either. So it's like not that close, despite even. Yeah, I think that's the way I kind of feel with it now. So we're coming into this kind of portion of the season is normally where I do quite well anyway. I always seem to have good memories around Christmas and stuff like that. So kind of looking forward to it from that kind of end product angle. Been quite dry for thresholds over November. I think you mentioned that in the kind of intro sequence as well. But I think November there was an international break and there was just fixtures all over the shop. Rotation was terrible. I don't think anyone did that great in November. So now that we're in December, I think everyone's kind of waiting to get up and going and starting to knock out some rewards again. And it's, maybe not quite kicked off yet.
Yeah, I think November was like mixed for me. I was having a look at, I think like obviously I managed to bag that Harry Kane win right at the beginning of the month, which was amazing. So I'll always be able to look back historically on that November being a particularly like fruitful month for me. But yeah, the back end of it and the beginning of this month has been the total other end of the spectrum, where I've racked my brain for hours to get the lineups where I want. I'm feeling really good about everything. Trying to target though, make sure that I've got the thresholds locked in as best as I can, and then maybe really put in like powerhouses into like All-Star Rare Plus. A lot of like the big rewards I've won are going into one lineup, and then the rest of it's like scattered about, because I think sometimes I hear your voice actually in my head when I'm putting my lineups together, and it'll be like, make sure you go out to win the division. So I really do at the minute. I'll be like I said, I'm thinking about going All-Star Rare this weekend, but putting Mbappe and Kane in there and being like, look, that team has to do something this weekend. That has to do something, right? But the sensible side of me might be like, well, you might, if you don't put them both in the same lineup, you've got 2 really good forwards there that should, like get a decisive each at least, right? They get one most games, and they got good fixtures the weekend. So it's like, I think a year ago I would have split the 2 of them and been like, right, champ and rare, or rare and rare plus All-Star. Like, don't put them in the same team. Make sure you got a good forward in each. But I just think at the minute, with injuries piling up particularly, and you talked about it yourself, like scores being good but not quite good enough to like smash. And at the minute, if you want to be like high up the leaderboard, especially into those cash places, which are always the place to be at the moment for me personally, lovely winning a great card, but having that cash bonus on top is like spot on. That's what I'm aiming for. So if you haven't got those proper, ball out performers in Super Rare as well to stick into those Rare Plus divisions, I feel like it's getting hard now, unless like your players are hitting 80 pluses. I think the long gone are the days of a 60 to 70 across the board being enough. You really need to be hitting those 80 plus, and you need your Super Rares doing it as well in Rare Plus. So it's like sometimes I'm a bit put off. I don't know if I'm just getting like stage fright when I'm putting my lineups together or what it is, but I just feel like when I'm putting my teams together at the minute, if I look at my Super Rare options and they're not fantastic, I'm like, right, well, let's sod Rare Plus this weekend, go heavy and rare, make sure I've got a couple of lineups in Super Rare. I found myself in a position now where I think I've only got 1, maybe 2 Super Rare goalkeepers, even like with fixtures at this stage of the season. So it's like this weekend I've got 1, and it's Kook, who is playing Bruges, and it's like, You know, at best, maybe I need to put him in a threshold lineup. But here's one for you. This has been racking my brain the last few days, and I'd love to put this out to the chat as well. We'll get some feedback on this. I've got Gaitan Kook. This is a good bit of like Cap 240 chat coming, right? Gaitan Kook, my only super rare goalkeeper that I've got with a fixture this weekend who's going to play. He has a cost of 55 points, which is quite punchy for a goalkeeper, right? L15 wise. But he has probably the worst fixture in an away fixture to Club Bruges, right? In the league. You know, you can look at it one or two ways. For me, if I'm putting a goalkeeper with a bad fixture into cat mode, I look at the probability of 3 goals against, because the minute that they concede 3, you're losing about 30 points of his like score. Therefore, would I just be better off putting a DMP goalkeeper, which I have a few of, you know, on 0, and just banging that in and just making sure the other 4 are like big players, super rare wise. I just think, yeah, like in terms of like the way you play Cap 240, if you don't have the goalkeeper option that looks like a potential clean sheet, or, you know, like a highly unlikely 3 goals conceded, do you just go in with a 0 and bang the rest of the players in? Because at the moment, that's my conundrum for the weekend. I really want to try and win that 240 threshold in super rare. My only option is a 55 scoring keeper with a really bad, with a fixture that's probably going to score him 35, right? At best.
So with you specifically saying that, like the first, or anyone kind of in that same situation, the first thing has to be like, what does the difference in doing that buy you in the outfield? You know,
Yeah.
because like, let's imagine worst case scenario, Cook honks in 3 and he gets 15 points at the end of it. Does the difference of the midfielder you're picking, the forward you're picking now with the extra cap points, get you 20 points extra on the board? Minimum, because this is like worst case scenario for the goalkeeper. So what is like the worst case scenario for the striker? Is it really going to be that much of an uplift where it's like it makes sense? I'm always a 5-man over 4-man in this situation, you know, because it's one of those ones. But I've wrestled with that one a little bit myself, because like I've had like 1 point out a few weeks, and I was doing a stream recently. It was an old school one. I think a lot of people had some fun tuning into that. But I've been 1 point out, and I've had the same kind of thing to think about. It's like, do I just put a 0 in here and just make a 4-man stud, you know, out the rest of it? And ultimately, I found a 5-man situ that worked. And I picked Stu Annie, who was going to be a super sub, and come off the bench and bagged 85 points. The team finished on 287. So,
nice.
So that was quite swish, the way that panned out, you know. So I would stick 4-man probably. But see, that's the way I thought about it, is like, you know, do you get more than the 15 points you're thinking the goalkeeper's going to honk you?
Because I think if
that's
you
a
think
lot of points extra,
it is, isn't it? I think if he had a pick score of like 45, I'd just put him in. I'd be like 45. You know, if he scores 35, I've only lost 10 points value out of him. The rest of the team can make that up. Whereas if I put in a 0, especially now, I think, like I was saying, like going back to my point on going into All-Star Rare versus Rare Plus, the reason I'm thinking, I think a lot of that is coming around this 240 option is like, if I don't use Kook there, I could put in a 0, but then I could use like Veerman and O'Reilly in the 240 team just to really make sure or help.
That might work.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, put those guys in, and even, you know, like go all out, put Chukovin up front, or another player who's in form forward wise, and just be like, right, if I'm starting with a 0 keeper, I'm going to put the best super rares I have in here, and then concentrate the majority of my other lineups in rare versus like the rare plus divisions. So yeah, it's a tough one, because if I do put Kook in there, I don't think I can get Veerman or O'Reilly in. I think it's either 2 or none of them with that 55 point score. And it's like, I don't think I've got, because you need to basically, you want your players to score on average about 55 points, don't you, across the 5? Yeah. So we got someone in the chat who's popped up in this. Afternoon, lads. Kook got 54.1 points away to Bruges last time with 19.1 AA, 6 diving saves. It did finish 1-1 though. So if Bruges scored 3+, it would kill him. This is it. This is my thinking exactly. It's like, if he doesn't concede 3, he's probably going to be good because he will have to make saves. But if he concedes 3, I think it will kill the lineup almost, because at a 55 point score, if he loses 3 goals and like comes comes out with like a 20 points or whatever.
Essentially nothing.
Yeah, it's like I don't think that 15, 20 points is going to make up for the losses I'll take elsewhere in the team, where I might have to put in a couple of rotated players, players who maybe like wing backs who might lose the ball a lot through the game, have got one of those like flexi scores almost, like where 1 week they'll hit an 80, the next week they'll hit a 30. And it's, players like Frimpong are classic for that, because really depends on the way Leverkusen attack the game. He's perfect. He's a perfect opportunity for like put him in a good fixture, probably going to hit an 80 against like a Bayern or somewhere he's going to get pinned back. He's going to score 30 points. He's going to lose the ball. He's actually going to come out with minus 88. So, like JC's saying, with a 0 goalkeeper, you need 4 outfielders to score 70 average. Obviously, that 70 average does include a captain score and stuff like that as well, though. So if you've got a card like Veerman, who's likely to start and has a he doesn't even need a really decent fixture. Veerman can score 60, 70 on like an average performance. So
if you really,
exactly same with O'Reilly. So if I can put both of them in,
there's a 200 points.
Them can score 200 on their own. That just leaves the other two to like start the game maybe.
But I am with Jay, because you said earlier, like, you're not confident to play any plus divisions really. And you were thinking about doubling up Kane and Mbappe. So I don't know if it's Veerman's fixture or Celtic's fixture is probably really good for O'Reilly. Small pitch, you'll be in the final third a lot, So O'Reilly will be good to go this weekend. I don't know about Veerman. I did think somebody said he had a knock or maybe get subbed off in a game or something, but somebody mentioned him to me the last few days. But what I was going to say is if you have a full team, kind of like Jay's saying there, if you've got a defender that's not half bad, could you go somehow super defender, O'Reilly, Kane and Mbappe? Could you do that?
I could.
That would be better than a 240, I'd think. But then you play Cook and whoever the gang is anyway.
Yeah, this is what this is what I've got to figure out today and tomorrow. Really, I think this is the main pain I've got this week. It's not a bad problem to have, is it? But it does. The minute you look, because Etienne Green's become unuseful again. He's back on the bench now. The number one's back in. So U23 Super is out of the question for me. Just Rare Plus for me now there. So yeah, for me, if I'm putting a lineup together in Super this weekend, it's going to be Cap 240. But because of that Kook score, it's really giving me a headache. And this must be. I thought it'd be good to talk about, because this is a problem that everyone has, right? And is like a common. We can all kind of like knock heads on this one. This must be something that everyone who plays So Rare goes through. Like, or maybe doesn't and has never really thought about it before. But I do think that if you've got those 4-player smashers, if you look at Cap 220 as a really good example on a different layer on the game, if you can find one of those like cheat mode goalkeepers who's got the 0 L15 in 220, you can actually go all out. And if you do that, 9 times out of 10, you're scoring 350 plus from a 220 cap. And I think it's kind of the same in Super Rare. Obviously, it's exactly the same as Super Rare if you can get a goalkeeper who will play with an L15 of 0. But it's quite easy for a goalkeeper to concede 3 goals and only put up 20 points. And in Cap 240, that's okay if the goalkeeper's only cost you 20 points. But if he's cost you 55, you're left with kind of like the scrapings of the rest of the team, just to get that 240 out there. And I think if I put him in and he does concede 3, I can't see a way out. I can't, looking at what's available to me, I might, but the thought of putting O'Reilly, like sacrificing O'Reilly and Veerman away from like a really strong Rare Plus team is what irks me a bit about this decision. It makes it difficult, because if you've got a rare Mbappe and Kane, you really want to be putting them in a Rare Plus, don't you? But without Veerman or O'Reilly in those lineups, I'm not really competing with the people if you think about the other kind of collectors who have a Kane or an Mbappe, this is another thing. I reckon I'm out of everyone who's got Kane or Mbappe on the game, I reckon my gallery is one of the weakest, or is not, it's not quite on the level of some of the other people who've got a Kane or an Mbappe, because they compare a Kane or Mbappe with a super rare Kimmich or something like that. So if I don't use Veerman and O'Reilly with them, I can't really compete with many owners of an Mbappe or a Kane, which shoots me in the foot unless I put, O'Reilly, Veerman in, or you take a punt on someone else and just hope it comes off. Like another good punt one I've got really is like Robertone, the Robertone super rare, you know, sitting at defensive mid, can put up some massive AA. He does get amongst the decisive occasionally, but he's not quite as reliable as like an O'Reilly or Veerman to like bang an 80 plus. He can do it, and he does. He's on good form at the minute, so you know he would definitely be put in a strong lineup this weekend. But yeah, it's an interesting conundrum, isn't it?
Speaking of 220, have you been given the month-longs ago? I don't think we've been on since it started. In fact,
I have, yeah. I'm going to have a little look and see where I'm at the moment, actually. But yeah, I've especially in limited because I had a really good start in that. I don't know about you, but I'm doing okay in limited. Last I checked, I was like pretty high up. And you know, look, I've got a few limiteds, but I don't. I kind of throw those teams together. But so at the minute, the 220 limited's been one of my main. It is my main limited lineup at the moment, to be honest, just to like see how far we can push it. Rare's been a bit hot and cold for me. I don't know about you. How have yours getting on?
yeah, no, my rare teams in 220 haven't even hit threshold levels. If you know what I mean, haven't even hit 280 points. In super rare, I had one good team that hit 300, a modest team on 210, and a midweek that was dead. So yeah, a quiet start, you know, but I'm happy to keep going. There's still a lot of football to be played, you know, and it's been, like I say, it's been a funny couple of game weeks individually for me and just football in general, I think.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now. I think I'm currently 845th in limited, which isn't too bad. 4 weeks in. Obviously, this is where it gets interesting, isn't it? Because this will be the game week coming will be the first one where the worst score gets knocked out and can be replaced by the next big one. Because we've had 4, we've got 4 left, and the top 4 scores are the ones that go towards. So this is where we're at the business end. The business end starts, doesn't it, this weekend? So yeah, I think it will be interesting to see how things. I think the next 2 weeks, or maybe 3, because one of them's a midweek, right? So let's say the weekend, the next midweek, and then the following weekend. I think those last 2 or last 1 weekend, whatever, will probably only be played by people who have like got a serious chance of hitting the cards. So yeah, I think limited I'll continue to focus on. I'm just outside the cards in cap 220 super at the moment, by looks of I'm 316th. I didn't have a lineup this week though, so I'm not a million miles away. But yeah, some pretty poor scores. I think the first week I had a good week, 318, and then the last 2 weeks have been poor. Had a DMP last week, which hurt, and then this week, the midweek, whatever. Yeah, it's I'm still in there. I'm still in there. Have they actually revealed what's in the prize pools yet for this tournament?
Yeah, it's the stars and stuff like that. The prize pool's there.
Have we seen who the stars are though? Like, every time I go to look at,
actually within it, I've not checked that. Sorry.
Let me have a look and see if because that's one thing I think I did look just to see, like, is this something I should be?
Yeah, not available at the moment.
Yeah, be nice to know what kind of stars we're talking, because as we discussed on it before, right? Are we talking Bellingham, or are we talking like a second division, like good half decent scoring player, where you know that it would be nice to have in the gallery, but in terms of like ROI or rewards versus like putting 8 lineups together in 240 every week or something like that, you know, that's where it starts to level out whether or not it makes sense to really go for it. But yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there. It looks like, you know, like Rare's 1,370th currently in a tier 5. So yeah, like there's potential there, but I am quite far away from the top end of the run-ins. I'll need some big game weeks if I'm really gonna compete. So I think, yeah, we'll see how this weekend goes, and that might dictate how, you know, likely I think it is to. But it would be nice to see the rewards, definitely. That puts me off a bit. I don't want to like go all out and then find out that like I've sacrificed a good reward this weekend to win like a tier 3 at the end of the month or something like that. I think it's just like the competitive side of it. Like, oh, it'd be nice to finish in the top 50 or whatever of a long format, just to see you know, and I think especially in limited, because for me, I was thinking about this today, but limited feels a bit like playing on hard. Like there's so much competition in that division. And I think
Yeah.
if you can have some success in limited on a low budget, you can be really proud of yourself. Because I think from a gameplay perspective, it's very hard to win anything in limited unless you're like playing with. It's a bit like FIFA, right? Trying to play like Ultimate Team with a load of like crap players versus someone who's got all the like, icon cards or something like that. And it's definitely like that a lot in limited, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely does feel it's a wee bit more like like the Royal Rumble, every man for themselves, and that kind of limited just because of the availability of some of the better cards, how long they've been there. But I also think like Sorare managers in general, like the ones that have the better cards, are normally the players that have been on the game a bit longer and kind of sussed out a thing or two, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So there's, and I know you're not that because you're playing limited, but you're playing limited from a different angle. You know what I mean? Like in terms of how it fits into your week and your Sorare experience and everything, you know. So I do feel like, yeah, no, but I'm with you. I just haven't really played it too much. So I can't really say much more than that, especially recently. But the numbers of entries look really good. And so this is probably a good thing to chat about on the podcast. So Sorare have did their La Liga and their Bundesliga special edition competitions like they did for the Premier League. But Asterix, it's like a quarter of the prize pot and it's for like people with no cards.
Yeah.
And it's like credit is paid out and stuff like that as well. Yeah. So it's just like, it's not quite the same, but surface level is meant to look the same and feel the same or whatever. I'm not really too bothered about it. I'm gutted I can't play it personally because I was hoping that there was going to be, you know, Premier League equivalent competitions for La Liga cards and such and whatever else. So, unfortunately not. But hey ho, is what it is. And but yeah, it's one of those ones where as if they're able to put that on, and again, it's just the market credit thing's a wee bit just like, okay, it's just another angle they're taking, I suppose. But
Yeah.
on the, it's such a limited field, if you know what I mean. It's just will they get good purchase off of that for themselves, if you know what I mean, versus like really taking like 15 grand of that and throwing it against the limited all-star, limited champion, and limited under 23, put an extra 5 grand across each of them, you know.
I guess it's a different way to look at it, isn't it? The way I understand the credit is that you get like $10 worth, right, to buy a limited. Is that like, do you just get that for free when you sign up? Is that like, right, here's $10 to go up to the value of 10, right? So like if you buy a $20 card, you'll get a tenner off of it. Or, you know, you get $10 worth of like buying, you know, a few. So I'm not sure I fully understand it, but I've seen, you know, like the spikes on Sorare base showing like number of managers who made a first purchase, that kind of thing. So it seems to have piqued a bit of interest, which is good, right?
Yeah.
The sort of sign-ups are up. And also I don't know, like this is just an estimate on my part, but I haven't seen it advertised as much as like the whole Premier League thing. It's been a little bit more like, it's when I've seen it on my timeline, it's come through like Channy, actually. I think I saw his video about it. So they've gone a different route about how they market it to people, I guess. So it'd be interesting to see, because I think that the results look like they've made a nice spike in new signups and new purchases. And I think that, you know, if you are a new player and someone tells you, look, there's a tenner to like pick your first card, like pick your first card that you want, like for this tournament. And then, you know, I guess it's a bit like the old bums in seats analogy that like a lot of football clubs make. It's like, oh, you know, give tickets to the game away. They come in, they buy a hot dog and a program and maybe buy, you know, some merchandise on the way out. And it's a bit like that, I guess, isn't it? It's like, get them in, let them have a card, let them see how the game works. And then hopefully they'll put the money in the pocket, put a hand in the pocket and buy one next week. I guess that's the thinking. So hopefully it works. Yeah, but it does definitely looks like there's been a little bit of a spike, which is good. But like you said, yeah, it's not obviously something that I guess we can get involved in. But hopefully it gives new players like the bug an opportunity to like experience what it actually is, how the game works, right?
Yeah.
Especially a cat mode, because it's a little bit hard to just like figure that out on your own. I think you need to go in and actually do it instead of just reading about how it works. So you just go in and try and put a line up in and see why you can or can't put the lineup in. But
Yeah.
when does it start? Is it this weekend?
Yeah, it starts from this weekend. I just think, it's just, I think it's half of kind of something, because I'm kind of looking at this and thinking, if you've already bought the cards, this is the sort of tournament. That's what I said. That's my kind of feeling with the whole Premier League one. If you're buying the cards, they have a premium on them anyway. They're 3D, they're in season, they're this or that, So it's a nice bit of, oh, cool. Well, because you spent money and you bought those cards, here's a competition just for you. Whereas obviously this is much more aimed at entry level, which is fine. It gets people in and up and playing or whatever. But doing it for the Bundesliga and La Liga and not doing it for, I think if you're doing that, you kind of want to do that for the Premier League, and you kind of want to aim that at everyone.
True.
A 25k Premier League thing, but it's in kickoff limited, and it's only the newbies that are playing it. And if it's credits or if it's cash, whatever they want to do, and then maybe like mirror image it, you have the Premier League competition that's running anyway, that we're currently all playing, or whoever is playing it. So it just feels like one side of the coin. But that's just my main disappointment with. That's probably the best way to sum it up, I guess. I've kind of babbled through that one, but
no, it makes sense.
In the end.
Like you said, I think that the Premier League is like the entry level for most sort of like armchair fans anyway, isn't it? So I think it'd be interesting to see where these sign-ups are coming from, if they are mostly coming from Germany and the places where the leagues are played, or if it is like, from all over, who people genuinely just see this as a good way in. I think that the credit idea is interesting, and hopefully it works out. Hopefully it like kicks some new money into the market. But yeah, SR Dimebar said it feels like this is a revised version of the 500k Premier League tournament. Nowhere near enough new users playing that, so this seems to be the better way. I think if you go in purely on
like maybe they've taken the temperature of the room after the Premier League one and adjusted. That's an interesting thought. I think, but that's too reactive, surely. Like I think if you're planning a marketing strategy, it's not just on one competition at a time. Surely you'd think about it's going to be a campaign of we'll start with this, and then we'll have that, and then we'll have that, and it'll build and it'll roll, and then it gets to the end of season competition, but it's £500,000, and it's like top place gets 100k, but this time, and it's like, or whatever it may be, I don't know. But you build, that's the way I would have thought. But interesting, I wouldn't have thought about it from that angle. That may be it.
Another thing, they just released literally before we came on air. There's been another sort of pitch notes, which we're getting almost every week. I feel like this sort of time when we jump on and do the podcast, we get a little pitch notes to talk about. One of the most important takeaways from that was they have updated that they're going to change the way that the jersey drops happen. I know that a lot of people have been upset about how difficult it's been to get a jersey. So it sounds like they're going to be testing a new system where managers can exchange coins for a ticket to enter a random draw to win a jersey. So a bit like a raffle, I guess. If you've got enough coins, it'd be interesting to see if you get the coins back if you don't, or if you're literally like buying a raffle ticket with the coins. Would you
100%? They have to do it on their YouTube channel the same way we all do, and struggle with the retweet picker giveaway machine kind of thing. do it on something like that. I'm sure they'll tart it up, probably make it a bit more fancy, but definitely should make a good bit of fun out of it. I think it's the best way to do it. I think it's the way everyone wants it to happen, I suppose. I don't mind fastest finger first. I, as a human, beat the bots, and I got my mind's top. I've wore it once or something.
Yes.
And I was close to doing it again. I wasn't that far off, by the way. I was like maybe half a second off beating the bots on the signed drop that happened like the day before last.
Aye.
So I don't mind a wee bit of survival of the fittest. That's kind of been my Sorare,
I managed to get mine through, but there was a mistake.
Anyway.
I got one recently, and I won the Champ Euro mystery shirt. Just it's the unsigned mystery shirt, and it came through the other week. But I ended up with like an Amiens shirt, like a League 2. So I had to go back and say, "Oh, I think you guys sent me the wrong shirt," because normally I wouldn't have cared either. But I've got this Amiens shirt already. So I was like, I don't want another Amiens shirt. I need.
That's so random. Yeah.
Of all shirts I could have got wrong.
A genuine doubler.
If it had been any other league Division 2 team, I probably wouldn't have cared. I would have just been like, it's not what I got. I entered for, but I just wanted a random football shirt. I'd have been way happier with a random like second division football shirt than like a Liverpool jersey or something like that, right? Which could easily come back once they kind of swap it out for me. But yeah, I had to go back, and to be fair, they really made it really easy. They sorted out a kind of gave me the option of like just getting the coins back, or like swapping it for what I originally won. So I like a football shirt, so I said I'd actually rather just try and swap it out for a Champ Euro shirt and just get another random one through. So yeah, I managed. That was the thing, is I got lucky, got through, but then yeah, it was a bit of a shock when it came through and it was like not the one I ordered. But yeah, like I said, the fact that it was a shirt I've already got was like, oh, don't really know what to do with this. Amiens, 2 Amiens shirts in the house now with different players' names on the back. Could have start walking around my area as like an Amiens super fan or something.
Yeah, what's this guy all about? So
See if I've got
yeah,
any French neighbours that recognise the kit or anything. But yeah, I think be interesting to see how that works. I think definitely seems to be the way to go, and hopefully people can start winning a bit more, or feel, or at least feel like less disappointed when they don't win, right? Because I think that's one of the main takeaways, is how frustrated people get that like they are literally there refreshing, and it's gone. It's like, how is that gone? I've been sat here waiting for this minute or second, and it does go quick. I've sat on a few of them myself, but I just kind of like do it expecting to lose. But a little tip for anyone out there, I don't know about you, Quinny, but I read somewhere that it's easier to do it on the app, so I did it on the app, and that was the one time I did get through. I did it on the Sorare app, not on the website. Maybe it comes through quicker on the app, I don't know, but that was
mobile centered.
that was it. It was on the app. Try it on the app. Go into the club shop next time there's a drop. If the next one is the old school before they like implement the new one, but yeah. Another thing in the pitch notes I've just noticed, they're going to do a second collections event once again for select collections of the 22 to 23 season. So last season, cards. Do you have any collections from last season, Quinny? Are you going to be hoping for any particular clubs to?
Ooh.
I've
got my Girona one, so that's good. It's nice to see. If from last season, I don't think there's anything I could really hope for, especially from Champ Euro. It would need to be like the first season. I might get away with something otherwise, but nah, not really. None of my collections, because so far the rewards haven't been that. It's been top 1 for super rare, top 3 for rare or something.
Yeah,
maybe top 2, top 5 at the absolute most. So to get into these collection event things at that time, you really need to be up at the top ranks to think about that, which for some teams, some scarcities isn't unachievable.
Yeah,
let's say. I wouldn't try and make an educated guess at it if you don't have a collection started already. But if you are looking at your collection and thinking, I was going to buy that guy anyway, that would make me second, maybe buy him. Like if you think your team hasn't been given one yet, you've been waiting for it. I see Hoodwink in the chat, fist bump. Good to see you, mate. Saying he's desperately waiting for the Asian ones to come. It could be Asia, and Jay's after the Celtic ones. So it could be. I think it said Champ Euro, but didn't it? Or did it just say collection event?
On the little notification, it just said collection event, I think. Let's have a look.
I think Champ Euro's probably cleared out, so it might be regional, because it was Champ Euro last time, so it might go Challenger or Asia this time.
Yeah, I'm just having a little look at like anything. So for the season in question, 22-23, I'm 5th on Tenerife, super rare. 49th for PSG, but I don't think we'll be getting that just because the license isn't there this season. So I don't imagine it'll be a PSG.
But it's leftover stock, so they it's stuff they've still got, and they're like, we need to get this out now. So they've got it.
In LA Galaxy, super rare, randomly. I don't know how that's possible, but maybe I've got a number 1 or a shirt number or something like that. But yeah, I haven't got anything. I'm not expecting much from that. I don't think there's many that I'm inside the top 50 on. So yeah, maybe I would love some Asia ones. Shout out Hoodwink. I think because the Korean jersey is particularly quite difficult to get in this sort of like part of the world. It'd be really nice to get one through So Rare. And it was good seeing a lot of the like the Asia region players on Twitter sharing all of their shirts that they won in the mystery drop, because I think like we all come to sort of really start to fall in love with these random clubs, don't we, playing So Rare? So to then end up winning a shirt of theirs is great. So like, like even like with the Amiens shirt there that I've won, if I had loads of Amiens players, I'd have been buzzing for something like that. It's like, the game keeps sort of paying you these ways to like follow the club that you've come to like fall in love with, or maybe not quite as strongly as that. Even it might just be that you enjoy watching them because you've got enough cards or whatever. But be interesting to see what clubs come out of this collection. What do you reckon, if you were gonna take like an educated guess on it, Quinny? What teams would you expect this to be?
PSV, 1000%.
PSV.
Yeah, PSV. If it's Challenger, if we're thinking Champs cleared out, done it last time. I don't know why, but when I read the notification, I thought it said Champ Collections. And then as we're talking, I was kind of like, I thought, kind of came to that same conclusion. I think the chat's on as well. But yeah, I think PSV would be a definite. Celtic, they should have some stuff with, but I'm not too sure. Bruges, I think they do some stuff with Bruges quite a lot. They love Belgium in general. So Belgium
they've got a good relationship there, right?
Yeah. Who else did they get on with pretty well? I think the Croatians in Zagreb and all that. I think they'll be involved.
Yeah.
And if I was to guess, who else would I say?
If we've already cleared out Champ, we can kind of write off
Midland,
AC Milan. That'd be interesting, yeah. Hoodwink's on 2,190 points for his limited Daegu collection. How 2,000? How many? How do you get that many points? Do you collect? Have you got the entire collection, Hoodwink?
It must be the full squad on like number 1 first owner.
Yeah, it's got to be
like 20 players or something. 30 players.
Looking at Daegu particularly for that season, obviously not the current season cards. Well, actually, they are, aren't they? Because this was the season, right? Yeah, because 23, they haven't got 3D cards yet, Daegu, because that'll be like the January sort of February start of the season. It's amazing looking at the cost of limiteds, when you can go into the collections and see. But a club like Daegu, who, on their day, pretty decent. If you want to buy anyone barring Cecilia, everyone is under a tenner. In fact, most of them are under a $5. Well, like I said, most of them are under £1. You could you could literally you could buy the floor price of every card in that Daegu team if you wanted to get a little collection bonus going for like pennies. Like it would cost you maybe less than 60 quid to buy the entire squad. And I think Cecilia's 11 quid. He's the most expensive limited. And Zeka. And a little bit of alpha for you here if you've missed it. But Zeka, who plays now this season for Pohang, is moving to the Chinese Super League to play for Taishan next season. Ooh. He is going to be a juicy pickup, and I think people are cottoning onto it because his price has spiked a little bit. But he will be going to the Chinese Super League and playing for a team that
is that Oscar's team?
It's the team that Fellaini plays for, and I think Oscar
Fellaini.
Fellaini plays for them. Orange kit. I think they might have won the league again actually this season. So, I mean, if he goes in to be a starter, that could be a really nice little card. I do love a Chinese Super League card though, don't I? I've got a stack. I've got a Chengdu stack. I've got Felipe, I've got Kim Min Woo, and I've got Palacios, and I've got Romulo when he's fit as well. But yeah, I find myself constantly searching out for Chinese Super League moves. Anyone that's covered, they're always a nice little pickup because the supply stops. They all seem to have like weird fixtures in the midweeks as well, so you can find yourself in those like dry parts of the season where you're absolutely cleaning up with your Chinese cards because there's not many fixtures on. So yeah, a little bit of alpha there. Zeka can get his Daegu card, and he's got a Pohang card as well. But he's moving to the Chinese Super League in January. So Nice bit of
That's a good
alpha.
one. And we're just getting into that transfer season now. We are in December. There is going to be transfer links for tons of clubs need reinforcements in January, you know. So it may be one of those transfer windows nigh that maybe wrecks a few stacks or maybe makes a few, perhaps, you know, depending on how it shakes out.
Definitely.
I'm desperately hoping to get through December successfully, like like back to the way the season was going before November. You know, I want some good wins. I get a good run of form getting out, and then hopefully these transfers we can maneuver them all well enough. So I think, like, I do think, see, on the kind of competition note that we were chatting about earlier, in the kind of collection scheme of things as well, I do think this is all like the beginning for Sorare. I think this is them like activating all their ideas and activating all their, you know, pieces of the puzzle that they plan on using within the game, like prizes for competitions and users and collections and incentives for playing and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm very incentivized at the moment to keep get the gallery maybe up a level, you know, keep it fighting, you know. But it's having that balance of picking your battles on some cards. A lot of people are talking about cards going down, but when you look at some cards, they're not really going down. It just depends what you're looking at, you know. Or
I bought a card and I was in the market this week. Well, I haven't bought many cards of late, but I did buy a card this week purely for the focus on the collection bonus, and that was Marco Verratti, his PSG card for two. But I thought he was a good one for me for two reasons. Firstly, my Donnarumma and Mbappe are both cards that I won, so like they've got that extra like juice on their collection bonus, which means that my Mbappe card currently goes out with like a 13% bonus on it or something ridiculous, right? So I'm looking at that, I'm like, if you've got Mbappe and you've got the opportunity to put him up to like 18% or something stupid, right? Then what are the cheap options in that PSG squad that I can pick up? And obviously, because Verratti moved to an uncovered league, he falls into that. So I picked him up for about 40 quid from Pavel. And, you know, international breaks, he's a useful card. Expect him to still, you know, be
he's still getting called up.
I think he did play in the last international break. I did wonder. I think he was injured during the most recent. But I think the one prior to that, you know, he has been involved in qualification as far as I'm aware. Okay. But you know that if he does get called up, great, because I've got Di Lorenzo, I've got Donnarumma, I've got Raspadori. You know, I can plug him in there in a decent fixture if he plays. But I'm about one card away now from having another percent added onto Mbappe, Donnarumma. And yeah, I guess any other PSG cards that I do pick up along the way. So I was looking at Pereira, and I did have a Pereira before that I won. So I'm a bit gutted that I let go of him back in the day. But yeah, I might try and pick up a Pereira. You know, he's floating around for like under 20 quid when he comes onto the market. So yeah, that was you know, I got suckered into the collection bonus. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that have done similar. But yeah, when you've got a card like Mbappe, and I think I did try to do it with Romulo as well. Like I've got Romulo's #1 card, and I was looking at I was looking at, you know, other Busan cards I could pick up from that season just to boost him as much as possible. But yeah, it's good to have those cards. I think we were talking, weren't we? You've got is it a Shano or something like that that's got some ridiculous XP on it or something like that?
Yeah.
What is it? He's almost super rare level, isn't he, or rare?
I think he's at 19 now.
19% on a rare is absolutely obscene. I need to get Mbappe up to them levels. That'd be uproar, I think.
It's good crack when they get that wee transfer. But I don't think that rule will be around for much longer. I expect it to get changed quite quickly, you know.
They've already talked about it, haven't they? About changing it. Yeah, my Mbappe's currently at 13%. But my collection bonus is only 1% of that. So there's room for growth there if I can get a few more PSG faces in. But yeah, on the subject of transfers, another one that really, like, I missed this, but I was talking on my Twitter recently about Prestiani at Velez. There was a thread about Almada and maybe him moving away from Atlanta, which I think we can all expect to happen probably in the January window. But yeah, I didn't realize that Prestiani is on his way to Benfica. That's a good move. What do you reckon of that, Quinny?
So there's a few there's a few cards about to get a bit of life now. So he's away to Benfica, and then the other guy, Echeverri, they've been ripping up this under-17s World Cup or something. He's been linked to everyone at the moment, and he might end up at that Benfica type, but like Liverpool and City, everyone's linked to Echeverria or whatever his name is at the moment. So it's a wee bit of a surprise because you see these guys when the cards come on and you think, oh, the young kid in the squad, he's got a cool name. He'll probably be a wonder kid, and then you don't buy them because you think you're just stereotyping them. And then, oh, look, he has a wonder kid, the cool name did mean something. Prestiani and Echeverria or whatever it is,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that I look back as well. I don't know about you, but I got about slight levels of PTSD that kick in when I look back on my gallery at some of the wonder kids or the potential wonder kids I did pick up who've just kind of gone on to not really do a great deal. But for every one you get wrong, you only need one of those to really go. If you can get them before everyone knows about them, particularly. But the Echeverri is an interesting one because his SO5 output isn't fantastic. But if you're happy to sit, he's 17 years old or whatever. I think the only play in your head at this stage is if you pick him up now at his price today. Let's say his rares going for. Let's have a look. So his rares are selling at the last one 3 days ago, 289 quid, 0.16 ETH. By the time he becomes a useful SO5 player, is he going to be more or less than 0.17 ETH that you pay for him now? And I think that's one of the issues that I've discovered, particularly buying, U23 goalkeepers, that I'm like, it's all right, I'll sit on him. He's got a couple of seasons and then, he'll be number one or whatever. And I've got a lot of those that I've sat on and just watched them age out. And then, they're just a 24-year-old backup at a club that no one cares about. And it's like
absolute nobody.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's like, great, that, it's all well and good if you pick them up for like 20 quid, but if you spent like 400 quid on the super or something like that, and you're like, that super's now pretty useless, or, they move to an uncovered league, or they get loaned out to like a third division club or something like that. And they're not going to be the player that you hope they would. The thing with goalkeepers particularly is so hard to dislodge the number one as well. Even if you are a good goalkeeper, right? Goalkeepers will be the number one for like 10 years and they'll just have like this great kid as an understudy, and they might not even see their debut till they're like 26, 27. This is the way. It must be frustrating to be a goalkeeper for that reason. But that's definitely one of the things. I'm looking at this Echeverri card and I'm like, this news all sounds good. Lots of hype about him. He's doing well in the World Cup, whatever. But how many players could we look back on? Like, you read these articles, like what happened to the class of 2017 that won the like under 17 World Cup for England or whatever. And it'll be like, oh, there's Phil Foden and there's Jude Bellingham and then there's Musiala. And it's like, who's that? And he's like, oh, he works in the car factory down the road now. And it happens. It does happen, doesn't it? It's like,
yeah,
this kid lit up the tournament and now, he is just working and he's doing work experience with a football agency or something. He's going to move into the law side of the game so yeah, I guess that's the thing. But it's hard when you're on Sorare and you're just looking at these cards and you're like, this kid's 15 and he's got a Sorare card. He's got to be someone. And then he's not. I've got a lot of them. Not a lot, but I've definitely got 5 or 6 cards in my gallery that I think I bought seeing the card and I'm like, right, this kid's got to be someone, and just didn't really turn out that way. But you never know. Some of them are still U23s. They might get their day. But yeah, I mean, one that springs to mind for me is Anwar El Hajj, who I bought at Anderlecht when I think Company was there, bringing him through at 18 and looked a player. And, then he moved to Genk and his situation hasn't really changed. I think he's probably 20 now or something like that. But yeah, I've got a few of them. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners know about buying those cards as well.
Yeah.
But I think
it's frustrating for sure.
Yeah.
I've not got too many of them. Most of my ones that I've had like that are kind of injured or so cheap that they're just easily forgotten about. The problem is the spend on them, you know what I mean? Because it is like I heard someone say it on Sorare Data this week, but it's like parking money, it's a good way of thinking about it. How long can you park that against somebody? Or how long should you park that against somebody? Or is this guy worth it? does your gallery need that right now? I was on Sorare there. It's just kind of crashed. I don't know if anyone else is getting that. I was
Oh
just
yeah,
trying.
nice. Just as you said it.
Yeah, just in case. It's just me. I always worry about that.
You just got banned, Quinny.
Brunetta going to Tigres makes me sad because he might not be the same guy anymore. So yeah, maybe end of an era for Brunetta. His moment in the sun might be passing.
Don't say that. I've only just got him. I won him a few weeks ago, didn't I?
Yeah, well, if you're nervous, or you really plan on having him, I'd maybe look again at that. I don't know if Tigres maybe does better. I don't know. I know nothing about it, but changing situations, I'm normally not too chuffed about that.
I did watch Tigres a bit because they had a Colidio, didn't they, a few seasons back?
Yeah, I think so.
There's two Tigres though, so I don't know if it's the same one. But yeah, I mean, they play pretty free flowing football. I just like, yeah, I wonder. One thing it will do, I think, is it might. How did we get Tigres cards this season? I don't think Tigres is a club that we often get mints from, right? But we have had, if I'm not mistaken. So it might.
I think we had Tigres. Yeah, I was thinking that did we? But yeah, did we get Tigres? Is Gignac on the platform?
We didn't get Tigres when Colidio played because I know that he became quite a good. But yeah, I'm sure we got Tigres cards.
So is Gignac on the platform? I can't believe. Really? I maybe did know this. It feels kind of.
I'm having a look now at the roster, and
oh yeah, they do have Tigres cards. Yeah, you're right, and we do have a gate. Oh, he's still no bad, by the way. 70 quid, big APG.
Yeah, but yeah, I think did we get? I think maybe last season we didn't get Tigres, but with this season we did because when Colidio was playing, he didn't get a Tigres card. I know that much. But yeah, I think it looks to me like Brunetta will probably still get mints if he moves to Tigres, which then it's just boils down to will he score what he was scoring. I think Tigres, if I'm not mistaken, are a bit. They'll score more goals than Santos. So if he can get on set pieces, then who knows? Who knows? The sky's the limit. But yeah. It's nice to get these little tips because I've been trying to get in amongst all of the transfer market, transfer window stuff, but it is quite hard, particularly for like South America, Asia, to find like a good stream of it. I try and add it to like a list on Twitter to try and keep an eye on a lot of it. But yeah, I see Sorare Mexico 12 hours ago saying Brunetta to Tigres soon. Second target for Tigres is Dennis Buanga. That'd be an interesting SO5 move, that one. But yeah, I'm looking at this now and I already know what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the day is digging through Mexican transfer stories, I'm sure. So if you've got any good links out there, hit me up on Twitter. I want to know who I'm supposed to be following for this. I've just found an account called Draft Liga MX. That sounds like a good one that I should be following. Let's keep an eye on that.
We bet it does what it says on the tin.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do like I love it when a player moves to an uncovered club, not an uncovered league, but like a club that doesn't get mints. And you're like, yeah, this is going to be a good move. Mm-hmm. You kind of lock in a decent bit of value there and a bit of differential for the end of the game.
I'm starting to get a wee bit of love, by the way, out of one of those moves I made. I took the wife. It was the time I said I was away to get some end product. And if you remember that, escapades. Yeah. So we had that. And on that adventure, as it was, we're staying over somewhere, and like the night I was absolutely gassed, pure steaming, and I bought João Moutinho after seeing a notification he was transferring to Braga. And now, Stish, I can report in, he started 4 games in a row against Real Madrid and then 3 games in the league. Oh, no, against Real Madrid and Union Berlin and 2 games in the league. I beg your pardon. There's maybe a cup game in there as well. So a wee bit of old gold at 37 years of age is rare. Is currently on the market apparently for 15 quid. Is limited as £1.50. I'm not sure he's on set pieces and stuff, but he's got 10 to 15 AA in his game. No two ways about it.
That's good. And, what you want.
L15 37 for this weekend, and they've got a very good game.
I'll tell you one thing. A mate of mine the other day, I was looking at his lineups, and I was saying to him, like, some of you cap 240 lineups, he goes heavy into U23, and I was like, some of these players you've got that are U23s that are like, the L15s of like 30 to 45. I was like, just get some old guys in, get some old 34-year-old stalwarts that'll put a 10 AA in there for you. Maybe could pick up a clean sheet if they're a centre back or something like that, right? And he was like, "Well, give me some examples." And I went through Sorare Day and I just tried to like put some search parameters in and try and pick some out. And it was a bit hard, but when I'm selling cards that I've won, like tier 4s, 5s, 3s, and I go, "Oh, I don't need that, I'll list it," and I'm surprised, I'll be like, "Oh, the scores are all right," and then it's like the last sale is like a tenner. So if you are watching this on Quinny's YouTube channel in the future, drop in your tips, like give us your golden nuggets, rare cards we're talking, under 15 quid that have the potential to like hit a 60 plus. We want to hear them. Bang them in the comments on Quinny's YouTube channel. Or maybe we can start a poll. Quinny, you'll know better than me. If we can do something where people can write on
just comments.
Anywhere you can bang a comment, and we want to hear.
Spotify, we can just do comments as well. So anywhere you're listening to this, like she's saying.
Yeah. JC's shouted one that I'm familiar with, Shuto Abe. I used to have his card when he was at.
I won him one time. I think he was like the first limited that one, by the way. I think I
noticed he's got name. Some decent scores of late, actually. He's in Belgium now, isn't he? And he's found his way into that starting lineup. He's nicked a goal or two recently, hasn't he? I'm sure his name's popped up on my feed.
The person that came to my mind when you said that was the first card that I bought for collection bonus, which was Daniel Wass. He's 34. He's 43 quid, but his L15 is 66. He plays every week. He gets 28 a match, almost certainly. If not 35 plus, he's a big hitter. So yeah, sometimes you need a wee bit of, so I brought in Moutinho, I brought in Was, I brought in a few guys like midfield like that were like not too like Campo and Limer, just guys that aren't too frills and spills, but I've always got one of them for 240 midfield, like it's good guys to rotate around. So yeah, you do need a bit of that in your gallery, I think, if you're playing for thresholds especially.
Ian Sorare says Andy Considine, 3 quid. Is that a rare card, yeah?
Yeah, that's a joke. Don't buy that.
It made me think of like, do you remember? I think we were talking about this with Tony a while back, and we was like Paul McGinn and players like that who were solid starters. I mean, I don't know what his rare goes for now, but I think he's injured at the minute. But it did make me just think of him again. His rare's 11 quid floor price at the moment. He's obviously injured at the moment. I'm not sure how long term, but he's only missed the last 5 games, and I mean he's. A lot of his scores are over 55, which is all you need in Cap 240, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, 13 days ago, £4.98. So yeah, you could pick him up for probably 5 or 6 quid now. There's loads of gems out there though. I think this is the time. Transfer season's among us. People are going to be getting injured. It's that time of season where people start cutting the galleries down, like already starting to plan for like the restart of America and Asia in a couple of months. So this is the time to get some of these gems in for Cap 240s, Cap 220s. And yeah, we'd love to hear your shouts on any of these players at under 15 quid rares. Let's see if we can build like a little hub of merry men for the festive season, and see if we
hub of merry men.
The hub of merry men, the wise men, the old wise men.
Love it.
Let's see if they can return with the goods, some gold, frankincense, and myrrh for the Christmas season. It's a bit of end product for you. But yeah, I'm rambling on here, Quinny, mate. I think I've had verbal diarrhea today. I've just seen we've been on for over an hour now, hour and 10 minutes or something like that. So I think it's about time we wrap it up, mate. Is there anything else that I've missed?
I think that's about us, mate. We're all kind of trying to fumble our way through the weekend, trying to crack that Kobayashi Maru. Is it an unwinnable situation? Do we have an all-star rare team where we can just throw everything against that are capped? Even the Celtic cards, I know they're a pain in the bum, but they would be really overpowered in 220, So, like where do you play? Where do you go? That's maybe where we're at for end product for this week, certainly. Absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure, Stishy boy. Thanks everyone that's joined us live. It's been a good live chat today as well. Love that. Twitch.tv/Plastician.
That's it. And make sure you're following Quinny 3001 on YouTube. Get those comments in, guys. We want to hear them, especially any shouts on the cheap players. Def's Vapors come in asking when is the next Bellamy mix. I did actually, if you want to listen to some music, I did a Bellamy radio show on Friday, so you can go find that on their socials at Bellamy, BALAMII. You'll see that on there. Probably SoundCloud, I'd say, is the best shout there. But yeah, great to chat to you all. As always, Quinny, a pleasure, never a chore. And we'll see you all back again next week. We're edging closer to festive season. So let's hope for a bit of end product all around. Cheers, everyone.